And thank you so much for joining us on this Friday morning. I don't know about you, but the sun is shining and I can't see a cloud in sight where I am. So I'm hoping that's the case where you are. We've got quite a few people joining us this morning, which is incredible. Obviously, if we're in a face-to-face event, we could all be able to network beforehand. So rather than missing out on that opportunity, just pop in the chat function, say hello, tell us a bit about your business. If you want to put your contact details in, feel free. Just make sure that when you send it, you're sending it to attendees and all panelists, so we can all see it. Also, let us know what your plans are for the weekend. Obviously, we've come out of, I don't know what phase it is, but obviously we've got a bit more freedom. So yeah, it'd be great to find out if people are going to restaurants to eat outdoors or pubs to drink outdoors, all of that. Give me all your amazing plans for this weekend. So while we wait for some chats to come in, I can see some have, but we'll wait a little bit longer. Kathy, what have you got planned for this weekend?
Oh my goodness me. Probably much of the same as I did last weekend, which is to do some work on my garden, try and tidy it up a little bit. We've been really lucky over the last week. We've had some people doing some work for us, and hopefully by this time next week, I'll have a new, what I call Franken shed, because it's half shed, half greenhouse, and that's being built for me. So I'm really looking at that. Small things please me. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I love that. I'm quite jealous because I have got into my gardening and I keep thinking I need a greenhouse or a potting shed, although I've not mastered. The next thing I need to master is how to grow seeds.
I don't bother with seeds. It's too much like hard work.
I've tried, it just doesn't work, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So, and also I can never say the word, but it begins with P, where you take like cuttings, and then from the cuttings you get like little roots and you go from there. Again, I think I need some sort of gardening lesson. So if there's anywhere out there on the call, the event, let me know and I would happily come and learn gardening tips. Emma, what about you?
So Kathy's so modest, she doesn't often tell anybody this, but Kathy's one of the official Facebook trainers in the UK for She Means Business for Enterprise Nation. And I've just been asked too. So this weekend I'm revising my Facebook exam, and I've done X number of hours of revision. I've got another weekend's worth, and then I'm going to take my exam. And then Kathy and I will be 2 out of the 27 in UK and Ireland official Facebook trainers. So 2 of us in one company.
That is amazing. I don't know why you don't shout about this. You need to, once you are qualified, because I know you'll pass with flying colours, you need to write an article, you two, so we can shout about it on our newsletter and social media, because that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm more about shouting about my clients a lot of the time than I am about myself. I always forget myself.
That's always the way though with Norfolk businesses. We should shout about our achievements because we are all incredible. Okay, so the chat's going mental, so I'm just going to literally skim it because I don't want to take time out of your learning how to blog for more business. So hi Thomas from Axella. Hi Louise from Victory Housing Trust. Good morning Oliver from Orca Will Writers. Oh, I'm enjoying the sunshine and hoping for a barbecue this weekend. I wonder how many people are going to do that. Let me know. Ollie, are you going to do, sorry, I called you Ollie. I don't know if you like that. Oliver, are you going to do a braai or is it going to be a barbecue? Let me know. Hi, everyone. Missy. I can see you all but can't see myself on the screen for some reason, so this is a webinar, so we won't be able to see you, but you can communicate via chat function, also Q&As as well. Also, if you want to verbally ask a question throughout the session, just let me know and we can do that. Morning Leslie, morning Elizabeth. Leah, I think I'm just going to have to stop because we're going to be here. Just morning, everyone. I'm going to go through the chat once I've handed it over, and I'll reply with any questions. So thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kayleen Harrington, and I'm the event manager for Norfolk Chambers of Commerce. So before we start, I wanted to let you know that the B2B exhibition will hopefully be taking place on Thursday, the 14th of October. The B2B exhibition is Norfolk's largest business-to-business exhibition. It's completely free to attend and attracts hundreds of businesses on the day. B2B is a highlight on the Norfolk events calendar, and I'll pop a link to the event page in the chat shortly. So, blogging for more business. You might be the best at what you do, but if you're not sharing your expertise by blogging about it, you're missing out. Now, I feel like maybe you need to write a blog about your Facebook thing that you just said, Emma and Kathy. Discover how to include the power of blogging in your marketing strategy and create a blog content calendar that will develop and share your expertise to build your reputation and increase your sales. So in this 2-hour masterclass, Kathy Ennis, founder of Little Piggy, and Emma Good, founder and CEO, of 24 Fingers, will cover how blogs work as a marketing tool, how to discover who an audience is and what will they want to read about, what to write, when to write, how much to write, and where to find inspiration from. The importance of using images in a blog and how to create a blog content calendar. So during the masterclass, there will be live Q&As where Kathy and Emma will ask your questions. So please use the Q&A function when you have a question. If you pop it in the chat, don't worry, we will take a note of it and come back to it. And as I said, if you want to verbally ask a question, just let us know. So, Kathy, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kayleen, and thank you everyone for being here this morning. This is a topic that I really love. I suppose in terms of putting it into context, we're looking at blogging very much as a marketing activity, not necessarily purely as a creative writing process. So I just want to put that proviso in there right at the beginning. And as Kayleen said, my business is actually called Little Piggy. I'm based up in West Norfolk, and I work with businesses to basically help them put the business into the business. So I tend to work with single person businesses, freelancers, consultants, coaches, or people who are running a business on the side, helping them really understand how they need to implement business strategies within their business. And actually, one of the key things for me is about them being able to develop what I describe as their expertise, create their expert model. And blogging sits really at the heart of that, because it's a way of demonstrating to people what you know about the stuff that you actually do. So that's why it's always been really hot on my list of things to do. I work very, very closely with the woman who is actually below me on the screen at the moment, my good friend and colleague, Emma Good. So I'm going to pass over to Emma so she can tell you something about herself.
I couldn't get myself off mute then. Hi, everybody. In Norfolk as ever. I'm actually based in Essex, so every time I come to Norfolk I feel like I'm with my second family, and I love it, and thank you for making me feel very welcome. So as Kathy said, I have a digital marketing agency called 24 Fingers. We help people that are all fingers and thumbs with their stuff, so getting more business out of social media, how to blog, how to run pay-per-click campaigns, how to run SEO strategies, all of the stuff that keeps business owners up at night when they see their competition doing brilliant stuff on social and thinking, I want some of that, but I'm not quite sure how to do it, or perhaps it's taking me too long and I haven't got enough time or hours in my business to do it all. That's what we help with. And as Kathy said, we're also co-founders of 24 Degrees, which helps people upskill and learn knowledge, because all of these platforms and techniques and algorithms are changing every day. So we basically demystify it, we cut out all the jargon. If anybody's ever been to one of our webinars or workshops before, you'll know that we're talking plain English, we don't like acronyms, and we make it really, really, really simple, easy to understand, and also easy to measure, so that you know what your marketing is doing for your business, what to do more of, what to do less of. And two things about me: I had my hair cut yesterday. I'm so happy. Yesterday, can't remember. Wednesday, no, Wednesday, 2 days. I'm so happy to have my hair cut, and yeah, I'm really hoping to pass this exam. I will report back if I pass. I'll tag you all on LinkedIn.
I'm with you there, Emma. My hair is so short at the moment because I took the shears to it myself during lockdown, and my hairdresser had to make do with what was left. But I actually got my nails done this week as well, so I'm really chuffed. But I can tell you, Emma will rock those qualifications for Facebook, because she knows that stuff inside, outside, and upside down. So yeah, so brilliant. And we know now that the word Kayleen was looking for was propagation. So there we are. That's the combined mind. That's what really helps. So shall I pull up the slides then, Emma?
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
Okay, so here we go. So let me just go into here. There we go. So yeah, blogging for more business. As Emma said, we both run our own businesses. Mine's Little Piggy, hers is 24 Fingers. We're coming up next week to our first anniversary, actually, of our joint venture, which is 24 Degrees, where we realised about this time last year that we were doing quite a lot of things together, and that people benefited from us working together, often in their in terms of their business development. So that's where 24 Degrees came from. If you want to get in contact with us, obviously you can contact us separately, but if you want to get in contact with us, probably the best way is to use that email address. And I know that Kayleen's got a PDF copy of these slides, so you'll have that, so you can listen and take part in this, and you don't have to take loads and loads of notes, because you'll get a copy of these at the when she sends the email out. Okay, so for me, as I said, blogging is part of this concept of developing expertise within businesses, this idea of the expert model. And the thing with every single business is that the person that runs that business is the expert within their business. I have a lot of people who say, oh, you know, I can't blog. There are so many people out there who may know more about this thing than me, or, you know, they've got millions of letters after their name, or they've been doing it for eons and I've only been doing it for a few years. How can I actually start sharing what I know and what I think and what I believe? Because it's just me, you know, it's little old me. Why would people take that seriously? But I think the key thing to say here is that your opinion is as valid and as valuable as anybody's opinion, and that the way you can use blogging is to actually help people understand how you as a business or an organization approach topics, approach subjects. And it's part of the methodology of helping customers or potential customers or people that you need to engage with, as to whether you're the type of person or the type of organization that is right for them. There's that right sort of physical chemical mix between the way that you view the world and the way that they view the world. So I know, for example, in terms of my approach to business mentoring, I approach it in a very particular way, is very different to a lot of my colleagues that I know. People have got choice. People choose me when they do because they like the way that I approach things. And that's what I really want to get in right at the beginning here. When we're talking about this, the one thing you can't be in anything that you do, that you send out there, is vanilla. You need to have an opinion, you need to have a stance on something. So a blog, generally, there are very technical reasons why we need them, and we will go into some of those things. But I think there is a need for you to be able to demonstrate who you are and what you are as a business or an organization to the community that you want to actually reach out to. So we're looking at it as a way of you getting seen, building your reputation, building that concept of people coming to you because you've got a certain opinion that they feel comfortable with. So you as a thought leader, you showing your expertise. It's not saying that you're the world's biggest expert, but it's about your knowledge and experience of things. Yes, there is the Google side of things, and we're going to go into that. But it's also about, you know, your opinion, what you think about things, your view of the world. Is there anything you wanted to add in there, Emma?
I was going to say, when we talk about being a thought leader and an expert and sharing our opinion, it doesn't mean to say that we've got to be bullshit about this stuff. If anybody reads the blogs that I create and my team create for 24 Fingers, some of you might get our email newsletters, you'll notice that we very rarely overtly sell. We add value. We don't kind of ram our opinions down someone's throat. So whatever your company tone of voice is, whatever your brand values are, you know, by all means put those in the blog, but don't feel like suddenly you're going to the world, oh, here I am, come and buy from me. You know, it's not about that. It's just basically saying, you know, this is a subject we know about, this is what we do day in, day out. And actually, if you've got this pain point, I'm going to give you some information that will help. So last week we did what's the difference between Instagram Reels and Instagram TV, IGTV? When would you use a post compared to a reel or a story? It's that kind of thing. You didn't overtly say throughout, you know, come and use us for Instagram promotion, but obviously there was a call to action. So don't feel like you've got to be kind of, you know, you can do it in an understated way as well.
Yeah, when we say you don't need to be vanilla, then you need to have an opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to be controversial.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very much about, this is my viewpoint on this. So my blog that went out, it was scheduled to go out at 10:30 this morning, was about, you know, why businesses need to set themselves objectives and why a lot of businesses don't. And it's because, in my experience, it's because when you're a solopreneur, you tend to be fearful of setting yourself something that you think that you might not achieve. So that's my view, in my experience, of working with the kinds of businesses that I work with. And so others may view it in a very, very different way. So that's really what we're getting at. It has to be heart and soul, you and the organisation or your company, that their viewpoint that you're putting out there. Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to you, Emma.
Okay, so why blog? As Kathy said, it puts us in a position of thought leader, expert. But also it does really good stuff for your website traffic. So I would love to know in chat how many of you have got Google Analytics installed on your website. Do let me know. This is always a fascinating question, because Google Analytics is actually going to tell you how many people visit your website every month, who they are, where they're based, what demographic they are, and where they're coming from. And what you'll find that when you have got a blog on your website, you will get more traffic, you will get found. So companies that have got a blog get 55% more visitors to their website, they get more leads, and you know, people want to read blogs. I'd say, especially within lockdown, people are content hungry. You know, people are spending a lot of time and effort creating blogs, but also people are spending a lot of time reading stuff. So don't feel like, oh, I'm nervous to blog, or I'm nervous to blog often because no one's going to see it. They do. And if you've got the right SEO optimization, you're going to get found by people that don't know you've already know. I'm loving the chat and everybody having Google Analytics. That's brilliant, because sometimes I ask this question and it's like tumbleweed, and it's a free tool and it doesn't take too long to set up, and it's absolutely brilliant in terms of getting data and insights. And as Kathy's blog explained, data and insights is how we measure the growth in our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is really interesting picking up on some of the things that Emma's just said there. This week I've had a really interesting experience from a blog that I wrote last August. And the title was, how much does a business mentor cost? And well, the answer is always, it's a piece of string question, because, you know, how much does the washing machine cost? How much does the haircut cost? You know, there's those things. But this week, I for the first time in ages, I've had a comment on a blog. And the second thing it did was it actually brought me somebody to to ring me up and have a conversation with me about what I do and how I do it. So this is the sort of thing that we're looking for. It's that kind of getting us in front of the sorts of people that we want. But we won't know what they want if we don't use the analytics to help us understand what is popular with people. Okay, so how do we find out what they want and what they want to read about? Did you want to cover this one, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. Kathy, do you want me to show some live examples or just talk through?
Yeah, that if you've got some there, that would be great. And I mean, just to say that if anybody didn't come onto our thing on the Google Toolkit, I think that might be going up onto the Norfolk Knowledge Hub, that video of that session that we did. So some of these things we covered in a bit more depth, if people want to have a look at those.
Okay, give me 1 minute and I'll get some, I will get some stuff up. So, okay, so as I'm sure most of you know, there's a few different ways that we can get traffic in our business. We can get it organically, so we haven't got to pay for it, or we can pay for it through things like Google AdWords. If I look at SEO first, I can look and do research on what people are actually searching for in a couple of ways on Google, and I can also use the Google AdWords system to find out what people are paying for. So I'm going to share screen, just give people an example, and I'll do, let me do, what shall I do? I'll do property, if that's okay, because I've been talking to a lot of property people this week and it's on my brain. So if I look at search terms, I can see what type of content I've got to start writing about, and I can also see what type of content people are paying to advertise on. So if I do keywords, and let's just do Norfolk property, for example. Okay. So what I can see here is how much it would cost me to bid in something like Google AdWords, and I can then think, well, actually, I don't want to spend money, 40p a click. What I want to do is start creating content that's going to get me clicks without having to pay the likes of Google, stroke Facebook, stroke Bing for the privilege. So I can go the backdoor route, as it were. So what we can see here, things like Rightmove Norfolk, 4,500 people searching for that per month. So, okay, right. I don't want to pay 4,500 times what it's going to cost me per click. So I'm going to start creating content around these topics. So property for sale Norfolk, property to rent in Norfolk, Norfolk property, land for sale, etc., etc. And there's 1,123 ideas that you could add into a blog just by using this system. If I carry on down, I can see who's ranking. So that will give me an idea of who my competitors are, and I would go and do my research on their websites and see what keywords they've used, what type of imagery, what their socials looking like. And then I can look and see what Google think. So this is keywords and also ranking and also volume. So we've got the 4,500 Rightmove, houses for sale Norfolk on the market, etc., etc. And if I carry on going down, should be here. I bet it's not, no, which is typical. There is somewhere here, I'll find it in a minute, that says people also search for, let me just find it in a minute. Always away.
And the key thing about using the Google AdWords keyword planner, as Emma said, is that you can use the tool as a research tool without having to pay for ads. The information and everything is there. What they're hoping is that by presenting this kind of information to you at some point in the future, you may want to do Google ads. I've never done a Google ad in my life. I'm not sure it would work well for my business, but I use the tools in order to think, well, what are people looking for? What are they searching for? Because with all the will in the world, we can sit there with a sheet of paper and come up with brilliant ideas about what we want to share. But if people aren't actually looking for those terms, if they're not searching for those words, the likelihood is we may not get in front of them. So that's quite a planned way of approaching creating your blog list, which is why I said, you know, right at the beginning, we're not saying that you shouldn't be creative in terms of the way you write or what you write, but if you want blogging to work for you as a business, there are some structural things, I suppose, some tricks of the trade that you need to bring in order to make it work, because otherwise you could just be sitting there writing really brilliant content that you're really happy about, but nobody's ever finding or searching for.
I couldn't find the bit of data that I wanted in that program, so I've gone the old-fashioned route and done a Google. So what we can see here, we can see Rightmove ranking for position 1 for Norfolk property. We can then see Google My Business results. So for those of you have got, while it used to be called Google Plus, now it's called Google My Business. If anybody's got a physical location and wants to rank for local searches, please get yourself listed on Google My Business. Pop into chat if you have or haven't, and we can help if you haven't. It's very easy to set up, but it basically gives you the opportunity to rank on a map. Then if I scroll down, we've got on the market, Sotheby's, and then the thing that I was looking for, which is called Google Snippets. And again, brilliant way of working out what to blog about. Is Norfolk cheap to live? Are house prices rising in Norfolk? Is Norwich a good place to invest in property? Can you buy land on Norfolk Island, etc., etc.? And these are what Google think people want to hear about. So personally for me, I'd be taking those snippets and I'd be writing blogs about it. And at the bottom, there should be more. Yeah, so related searches. So again, you've got your 4 key people also ask, and then you've got the related ones as well. So that should give you, already I can do 4, 8, 12. There's 12 blog ideas just there. And if you were going to do blog a week, that's 3 months covered just in that one search term. So that would be a really easy way of doing evergreen content that won't go out of fashion. So that's Google keywords and SERP. The next one that I wanted to show you was Google Trends. So this is brilliant. You want to find out what's trending. There's, sorry, my lockdown brain. There's ways to search by location or also particular topics. If I do Norfolk property again, okay, there's a search term. And there's a Norfolk in America, yeah. So I want to change that to the UK. So what I can do here, I can see how the volume's changing. So if there's a massive spike, like the word pivot and furlough, there was a massive spike last year because we haven't really used those words in the English language before. It's a massive spike, but you can see here that Norfolk property, last summer, it went up a bit, it went up again in March. That's really good to predict what's going to happen in your industry. And then we can look down and think, okay, where is it ranking? Obviously England and a bit in Scotland, but then we can look at what the queries are. So you can see here that Holt, Norfolk Bulls, Norfolk Coast, North Norfolk. I gave you 12 topics there, now that's 16. We can see here that these are on the rise, so these are breakout trends. So South Norfolk housing, there's 25 different topics and they're trending. So for me personally, if I was in the industry, property industry on this call, I'd be looking at these trending topics and starting creating local guides to Durham, Bradwell, Hemsby, etc. Because that Google were telling you people are searching for it, it's on the rise, so kind of getting quick. And this I'd be looking at on a weekly basis. Whenever I'd be planning my content, I'd be looking at that. And to be honest, there's no end of material that you're going to get from that. It's fantastic. The next one that I want to show you is Suvi. So Suvi is another way of finding cool stuff about what people are searching for. So I do Norfolk property again. You can see here, or what's that, 25, 30 results already. There is so much brilliant information here that you can start using. So Norfolk property for sale, every time you add in word, it will add more long tail searches at the end of it. So again, it's just ongoing. There is no limit to the amount of inspiration you can get by using these tools, because they're doing all the hard work for you, which is exactly what we want from a business owner's point of view. Kathy, on that, do you want to go back to the slides? I just want to see if there's any more of the live examples, and I'll keep going. So I've done trend, I've done CV. Okay, so I'll stop sharing you and I will go back to Search Console. I know that most of you have got Google Analytics on your websites. Now I want to see if you've got Google Search Console. Google Search Console is a brilliant tool to help you understand how Google perceives your website. So I just want to see who I'm logged in as. Okay, so Kathy won't mind. If you've got,
better be good.
No, it will be. Always it's you. If you've got Google Analytics, I'd suggest the next thing that you do is install something called Google Search Console. And basically, this is talking about the health and the performance of your website. It's absolutely fantastic. It will tell you how your website performs on mobile. It will tell you if there's any problems. It will tell you if there's any errors, broken links, but it also tells you how people are finding you. So basically, Kathy has no errors. Yay, she's amazing. If I go to performance, I'm going to see how people are finding her. So Kathy has had, she won't mind me telling you, 36,000 impressions over the last 3 months. 3 months, is it? I don't know. Where's this year going? January yet, which is great. She has a certain click-through rate. She has a list of queries. So these are the things that people are searching for and finding her. So I'm really pleased to report that Kathy has done a brilliant job in her personal brand. So when someone types in Kathy Ennis, they will find this website, which is brilliant. If you haven't built up your personal brand so much, that might figure quite low down on your list. So I would really encourage you to start blogging about your position, your experience, your knowledge, and put in your own name as a brand name in your blogs as much as you can. And then she did some great blogs. She just mentioned how much does a mentor cost, how much does a business mentor cost, and they're getting her clicks and they're getting her impressions. And she, how long ago did you write that, Kathy?
That one was August. Yeah, the other one is that keeps coming up is how to ask customers for payment. It might not show in there, but it always comes up on.
I'm just going to change that to the last year, and you know, best business to start with little money. How much is business mentor? How to follow up? You know, 3,000 clicks on best business to start with little money. You know, Kathy wrote that over a year ago, and it's still trending, which is fantastic. And you'd pay good money to do this in a Google Ads scenario, and you can do it all for free on Google Search Console. So if you haven't, do this today. It won't take long, and it's priceless in terms of data and knowledge.
Absolutely, it's made a massive difference. Even down to the fact that you'll get an alert if there's something on your website that's making it not work in front of people. So sometimes you'll put something on and maybe the text is a bit too small to show on a mobile device, and they'll tell you that this is affecting the impact of your website. So, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So it's all the practical stuff, but all of the things that are showing you what's actually working on your site. So the thing is, you know, classic thing in business, if something's working, you do more of it, and that's really the way that you should be going. I think there was a question, Emma, from Elizabeth, who said that she's looked at Google AdWords, but it won't let her do it. I think she's trying to set up an ads account rather than just looking at the keyword planner. Do you think that's the case?
Sorry, what was the question? I've looked at Google AdWords and won't let me do this for free until I've set up an advert, add to my card and then cancel. Elizabeth, let's jump on separately, because there is a way that you can do all the research without having to physically pay. So yeah, happy to go through that. And I think there was another question in chat about Ahrefs. Is it a free or paid tool? I was showing you the paid. I think you can get a free trial for 7 days from memory. there are other online free systems where you can do domain checks and see what other keywords people are ranking for. I was showing you the paid one, so I get everything. But certainly when I first went on Ahrefs, I'm sure I got a 7-day free trial.
Yeah, most of them will have a freebie version, and a lot of them these days, which is good practice, don't ask you for any payment details up front. So it's not as if you go on the free trial and then you end up paying, as Emma does, megabucks for something. So yeah, so there's that. But actually, one of the key things I use is just the straight old simple Google search. I just put in a Google search, and then I see what are the trending topics, and then I see the supplementary questions that people are asking, and I start to formulate my ideas for my blogs off that. So, you know, that's one of the other things that is really, really simple. Just sit there. I was with a client yesterday, and she's a copywriter, and one of the things we did a search for is what words make customers buy something. We just put that phrase into Google, and we came up with loads and loads of ideas for things that she could write about, persuasive sales type copy. So, you know, it's a really, really simple way to do it. Okay, shall I go back to the slides? Okay, where are we? Here we go. So we've had a look at what's going to make people, you can start to find out what people are looking for. And, you know, the basic thing is you write the stuff that people are searching for in your industry. That's the key thing. What do we need to think about if we're planning our content for our blog? So we've had a thought about the types of things we might want to write about. Is there anything else that we need to bring into the mix? So Emma, did you want to do this one?
Yeah, absolutely fine. So way back when I first started the business 7 years ago, I hadn't met Kathy, so I wasn't as structured as I am now. And I used to blog about anything, anytime, but Kathy showed me the light. And what we do now is we think, okay, let's think seasonally. What happens in social media, digital marketing every year? And what can we already put in within our year planner? So we know Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Valentine's, Easter, what else, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day. We know those things happen every year. So already we've got seasonal blogs that we can write about, for example, how to run a Valentine's Day promotion, how to get more sales on Cyber Monday, etc., etc. So what I'd suggest from today is start thinking about what happens every year without fail that you can blog about. In my business, we do a content calendar every month. We share like 300 ideas for social media every single month. So if you don't get that from us, let me know, because that can give you some inspiration. Pop into chat if you'd like a copy of that. Get your seasonal stuff out of the way first of all, because you know that's going to happen as day full as night. Then start thinking about what's trending. So when I showed you Google Trends, you could start keeping an eye on that and thinking, okay, if that's trending, that needs to be time sensitive, that needs to be up to the minute information. So in my business, when Instagram launched Reels, we quickly did a blog about Instagram Reels because we knew that would be trending. There is another great thing. If you go on to Pinterest, Pinterest show you the trends that are coming up as well. So again, look at whatever trend data you can get in around your sector and industry and start including that as your up to the minute kind of on the spot blogs. Then start thinking about what campaigns you're going to run. So I have a lot of restaurant clients that are now thinking, right, we're reopening, what can we do to entice people back? Not that people are having to worry so much, because Brentwood has just been full with beauty parlours and restaurants opening outside, so it's been really great for everybody. But start thinking about what tactical stuff you're going to do and at what time of the year, and again, that's going to help you plug the gaps. You've got national days. Like I said, we give people these guides, these national days. Not all of them are going to be relevant to your business. National Hot Dog Day, I can't think of a way that I would use that in 24 fingers. I'm sure I could find a way, but don't think just because it's a national day, it has to be blogged about. Some of it is a bit shoehorned, some of it, dare I say, is quite American. So we just need to be conscious and aware of does this fit my brand objectives? Does it fit my business objectives? And if both answers are yes, then blog about it, but if not, don't. When you're blogging, you can ask people what they think about stuff. So, for example, if Kathy, actually, I'll use an example. I've just launched a social media surgery clinic every Wednesday, and I ran a survey of what people are looking for social media consultants. That would make a blog that, again, could just sit on my website forevermore. It'd be completely evergreen. Flash sales, however, wouldn't. So I might want to blog about it and then hide it off my website if they weren't relevant or ongoing. If I was doing any internal events or networking things, I'd blog about that and put that on my website. And then the really core industry specific information that only you know that's relevant to you guys. So, you know, there's 8 categories there. I've just shown you about 25 tips just for properties. So trust me, I don't think anybody would be running out of ideas, but it's about what to write and what's going to give you the maximum value. So like Kathy showed you when she did these Google snippet research, instantly she's got on her website the kind of stuff that people are already searching for.
Yeah, and I think really what I want to bring in here is the fact that every industry, every business has an ebb and flow in terms of things that influence that business. Or if you take the industry specific stuff, even if we think about the Norfolk Chamber, you know, fingers crossed the B2B thing is going to go forward. Well, in the normal year, that would happen whatever. So there may well be blogs going on about, you know, how a business can get the most out of exhibiting at a business show. The kinds of things that you might want to do in order to attract people to your stand, you know, those kinds of things. In every industry, there are these sorts of things that you can hook your content onto. And I think that the thing that will stop it becoming a chore is if you plan it up front. So Emma's lovely planner that's sitting behind her on her wall there, I would recommend that everybody has one of those, and that the first thing they do is they go through that planner and they mark out all of the major seasonal dates that would have a relevance to their business, all of the industry specific dates that would have a relevance to their business, any offers or promotions that they're planning in their business, when are they going to be happening? Because then what you can start to do is to think about, well, if I'm going to be blogging and I'm going to be talking about these things, wouldn't it be sensible if I'm running a campaign in June to start whetting people's appetite with information through April and May? Because that becomes part of my promotion for that campaign. So it's a pretty logical way of looking forward in terms of getting your information out. You're getting valuable information out, but you're also using it as a practical way of drawing customers or clients in.
I think Louise had a question around how to see trends on Pinterest. If you go into the analytics section, Pinterest very helpfully have given you the weekly trend. We send it out as a guide as well. So if anybody wants that directly to their inbox, drop your details in chat and I can add you to that list, because it's really helpful. Pinterest and Google are really aligned. So whatever's trending on Google will typically trend on Pinterest and vice versa.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested in anything to do with Pinterest, we're running a Pinterest course in a few weeks' time. So you can just have a look on the training page on my website, and I've got things listed on there. So you can have a look at those. So what do we write? We've already mentioned the fact that you can go and do your research by using the tools, whether they're the slightly more in-depth ones or just by doing the good old Google search. We write about the stuff that we're finding in those searches. And Emma said earlier about people consuming blogs more. This isn't just a lockdown trend, it is a trend. People are using blogs as, probably even more so than web pages generally, as a place to get insight, to get information, to help them understand something or help them make a decision about something. So if I'm ever buying anything, I will want to buy a new pressure washer. I would go on and I'll do pressure washer reviews. and it won't necessarily take me to a web page, but what it will do is take me to a blog that a review site has actually written about pressure washers. And I think this is what we need to remember. So when we're thinking about what we have to write, it's helping people understand a concept. It's helping people gain some valuable information. But again, going back to this idea, it's about you demonstrating what you know about these things. So there are lots of ways, and these are just some examples that we've pulled together. The how-to. People are always looking for, how do I do this? So having a blog that actually takes people step by step through something is actually really useful. The kinds of things where we can tell people, stop doing this because this could be, one of the things we laugh about is quite often you'll see on people's social posting, happy hump day on a Wednesday because they can't think of anything to write. So actually writing a blog about why you need to stop your happy hump day posts could be a useful thing if you're in digital marketing. But start doing this, start doing your research, start going onto Google, that kind of thing is really people are looking for answers. What to look for when buying, that's a classic thing. That's your review type thing. What do you want to know? If you're in professional services and things like that, but all of us actually, what happens when there's a change in the law, or there's a new trend, or there's a societal thing happening? That really is about demonstrating your knowledge and top tips. People love them. I did a blog ages and ages and ages ago, which was my top 5 freebie tools that helped me with my business. And then at the end of that blog I wrote, and are there any that you use? And actually the next week I was able to write something along the lines of, and now here are 10 that you love, because everybody fed back on that blog in terms of what they liked. So it's really this concept of giving people valuable information that demonstrates who you are, what you do, but also gives them value. That's the crucial thing. People feel that they've got something from it. They feel that they've got an answer, or it's helped them move along in terms of their understanding in one way or another. So anything you wanted to add in there, Emma?
Richard's asked a great question. How far ahead do we plan or timetable the blog topics? I'll let Kathy answer that, because I'm big picture, Kathy's detail.
Well, it depends how anal you are. And I tend to be quite, I would say a year. So I'd look at 12 months. I would look at theming each month, and we will go into this in a little bit of detail in a little while. So I'd actually do it for a year. And you know what that does? It takes so much pressure off, because you're not, a lot of people waste time sitting thinking, oh, so what shall I do this week? What do I need to do? If you've spent some time plotting it out, and I usually do this around about October or November time, if you spend time plotting it out for the following year, it's all taken care of. Yeah, the writing has to be done, but actually, the interesting thing is the writing is the thing that's almost the easiest bit, once you know what it is that you've got to write about. Okay, any other questions?
Melissa wants to know where my wall plan is from. I'm going to put the Etsy link. No, I didn't make it myself, because I'm the least practical person ever. Anybody that knows me knows that there's home story, like I've never changed a light bulb in my life. I've never put oil in my car. I'm not practical at all, so there's no way I could even think about creating that. I'll pop the details in chat for everybody. It's quite expensive, but I love it. There are cheaper versions available.
Yeah, mine only cost a tenner, and I got mine from Etsy as well. So yeah.
Don't judge me when you see how much I pay for mine, but I love it. So
right. So let's go into some basic practical stuff. And I pulled these slides together, so apologies, because the images I've pulled off the back end of my website, off my blog, but just to attempt to demonstrate. And I will say here now, I've got a WordPress blog, so if you're using a website platform that is not WordPress, yours may look a little bit different. And also to say that I use a piece of code, a plugin on my website called Yoast, which allows me to, and it informs me about the SEO side of things when I'm creating bits and pieces that support my blog, and we'll explain that as we go through. But I wanted to start here because we're looking at the basics. We're looking at the title. So there are some really practical things that make a big difference to how in front of people your blog becomes. And if you can give Google as much help as possible, it will definitely help your website and help your blog. Now, I'm not massively creative. I am quite process driven. So sometimes coming up with the title for a blog can be really hard. And some years ago, I found this website called Tweak Your Biz, and they've got a title generator. Now there are loads of these. If you just Google title generator, you'll find loads of them. But I really liked this one, and you can put in a word and it will give you up to 100 different titles that you can use that would include that word. Okay, so that's just one way of going around it. The other thing that I do, as I've said already, I go onto Google, I type in the topic and I look at what other people have been asking, and then I frame my title around the thing that people have been asking about. So if somebody's typing in, how do I ask my customers for payment? Then I'm going to write a blog that says how to ask your customers for payment. It's a very simple thing like that. So you can see I took a screenshot of the back end of the website, in the actual editing section where you can see my title there. But what I wanted to show you on the image on the right hand side is that because I use this plugin called Yoast, that will actually analyze my title and tell me how strong it is. And you're obviously, with most things, you're looking for a green light rather than amber or a red. And you can actually trial your title to see whether you can get those numbers up. And I think the first time I tried it, I came up with a title that only got a score about 58. And I played around with it a little bit and I got it up to 75. And happy days for me. That was absolutely fine. So you can use these tools again to hone what you're doing. And just a little bit of advice here, because it does help, is that the key phrase, and we will tell you what that means in a moment, the key phrase that your blog is about, if you can get that phrase as close to the front of your title as possible, Google will really love you for that. Okay. Anything to add in there, Emma?
On all of this, I just want to say we still need to make it natural and copy that people want to read, rather than thinking, oh my God, it hasn't got the keyword in. Think about what your reader wants to read. Right, naturally, the keyword stuff will come and you will be able to put it in, but don't shoehorn it in just to tick a box and get a number. It's better that the copy reads well. Google knows whether you're trying to screw the system. It knows whether you're being authentic or not. So think readability first and the rest will flow.
I've been blogging for nearly 15 years and I developed a way of doing things over that period of time. I didn't do this right at the beginning. The tools weren't there right at the beginning, to be quite honest. So it may not be something that comes naturally immediately, but it's the same with everything. You learn and you develop and you get better at it the more you do it. So don't be put off by thinking, oh, I can't get that to work. If you like what it says, use it. You'll get better at it the more you do it. Okay, so the next thing, your URL. Emma, do you want to cover this bit?
Yeah, URL is a signaling factor to Google to tell it what you want it to rank you for. Think of it like a library system. So in the olden days, we'd have a library shelf. Google needs to know where your book should go and on what shelf. And the URL is just another way of advising it. So if you've got a keyword, make sure it's up the front of the URL where possible. So I do a lot of interviews, and they're called 24 questions. So rather than doing like things like 24 questions with Kathy Ennis, I'd put Kathy Ennis at the beginning. Kathy Ennis interview would be the way that I'd use that in the URL.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things is that Google works on the KISS principle about keeping things simple and straightforward. So you don't have to be clever. It's the whole does what it says on the tin thing. So don't feel that you have to create, it's the same with your website and your menu items, to be quite honest. You don't have to make them, interesting in that sense. You have to make them straightforward, because that's the way that Google's going to find it, and that's the way your potential customers or clients are going to engage with it. And just one thing to say is that it doesn't necessarily have to be that what you call the blog is exactly what the URL says. You can actually change that using something called the slug, and we'll show you that in a minute, so that it reaches the parts that you want people to reach. And for example, one of the things that I've seen, let's take Norfolk property, the search that Emma was looking at before. We know that there's a Norfolk in Virginia, as well as a Norfolk here in the UK. So it could well be, if you were writing a blog about the benefits of buying property in Norfolk, in your URL, you might want to add on UK, but you might not have that in the title that you actually use on the blog itself, so that people know that you're talking about buying property in Norfolk, the wonderful county that we are. Okay, so just be aware of that. And as Emma said, any of this, if we're going through things and you think, oh, I don't know about that, book a session in to have a chat with us, because we'd be more than happy to go through things with you. Okay, so keywords or key phrase. Do you want to pick up on that, Emma?
Yeah, so again, this is basically telling Google what you're blogging about and where to file it. So that could be one word, it could be a phrase, it could be a couple of words, but each blog needs to have a unique keyword. You don't want to be doing 10 blogs on the same subject, because otherwise Google's going to think you're duplicating content and it will get confused. So make all of that unique to the particular blog, and expand it if you need to differentiate, for example. And that key phrase should be used throughout your blog. In the olden days, and when I say olden, I mean like 2010, 2015, people used to just repeat the same key phrase throughout the whole blog just to get up in Google's eyes. Really bad to read, not authentic. And then Google did a massive cull on all of that. So now if you do what's called keyword stuffing, where you use the same words over and over again in the blog, it just doesn't like it. So there's a ratio depending on how many words that you're using in order to so there's a ratio of how many times you should be using that key phrase in order to rank well with Google.
Yeah, and I think that it's really interesting what Emma said there, and it's particularly true as well about the repetition. So when I first started writing blogs many moons ago, I always used to think, well, this blog is about this. And so what you had was you had loads of things that had the same keyword or key phrase. And it was actually damaging what I was doing rather than supporting what I was doing. And as soon as I started thinking, okay, so it might be about business planning, but what aspect of business planning? And creating a keyword or phrase that was more appropriate to what the blog was written about. Plus then, by using something that has got, more relevance, it means that you can use it really easily within the copy, or use it as headings within the text that you're creating. And another little thing you'll see on this image that I've got two green smiley faces. one on SEO and one on readability. And going back to what Emma was saying, is that again with this plugin, and there are other ones, you know, there are other plugins that you can use, but this is the one that we both use. If that readability was showing either red or amber, you'd actually have written down in there, this is why we're not giving you a green. If you go in and you do this to your copy, it will make it better. If you go in and do this to your copy, it will make it better. So my big task every time is can I get 2 green faces? So that's what I'm working towards.
It's a happy day when you've got 2 green faces.
Oh, I love it when you get 2 green faces.
There's
a meta description. Oh yeah, another question.
Great question from Tansy. Are you using Yoast Pro, and what's worth investing money into boost traffic, Facebook boost or Pinterest boost? So I'll answer the boost bit, but Kathy, can you answer the Yoasty bit?
I'm using the, this sounds awful, I'm using the free version, and I'm waiting until November because I know that what will happen on Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend is that Yoast will have a special offer on where you can get the premium version dead cheap. I haven't felt the need for the premium version. Some businesses may, because they may want to have multiple keywords, multiple key phrases, but at the moment I'm using the free version and it's working absolutely fine.
I use a free version as well. So I'll answer the boosty thing. And is it worth spending money on Facebook boosts and Pinterest boosts? So what I'd personally be doing on both platforms is running an organic post, see whether it resonates, see if you're getting traction, likes, comments, engagements, traffic clicks. And if that's doing well, then spend money. And I'm not even going to say boost, I'm going to say spend money on an ad campaign, because 2 different ways that you can set up paid promotions on, for example, Facebook. There's the boost where you press the blue button. Facebook make it really, really easy to do when they send you emails to say you could reach 95,100,000 people for £5 when you press boost. They make that ever so easy. But the problem with the boost system is that it only gives you 3 objectives, which is page engagement, website traffic, and I can't remember the other one, it might be likes. Whereas when you do a proper ad, it gives you, there's 14 different ways that you can create your ads. It could be something like, for anybody that has walked past my shop, give them a unique offer. For anybody that has been to my website but hasn't converted, send them an ad the next time they go on Facebook. You can do things like app installs. If you've got an app in your business, you can ask Facebook to find people that like to download apps from Facebook. So I personally don't use Boost, so I set it up as an ad campaign because you can do better work and get a closer conversion. And the other thing about Boost is that once it's up and live, you can't edit it. So if I'm targeting people that are 45 who buy pair of stilettos every week in lockdown that live in Essex, I can do that really, really cleverly and easily on Facebook ads. Whereas on the Boost, I could run that ad, and if I saw that it was mostly 50-year-olds, I couldn't edit that campaign, whereas I can on an ad. So that's another reason why I go ad rather than Boost. Yeah, and I would, a few years ago, Emma and I might have had a different conversation about this, but as things have developed, Boosts have become more and more irrelevant, to be quite honest. Boosts only work and only did work on content that you had created that had a buzz around it that you wanted to put in front of more people. That was what they were there for. They're not ads in that sense. They're just about, let's see if we can get this stuff in front of more people. And as I said, the only way that would work is if there was already good engagement, because the amount of engagement on organic posts in Facebook has dwindled to almost non-existent. It's very, very, very rare for a post in organic post in Facebook to get the kind of engagement that would make a boost work. So I totally agree. I think it's money wasted. If you are going to use that content, then use it very much in an ads traffic driving or brand awareness process, not in general, oh, I want you to like my page, because I don't think that really works. Okay.
The meta description. We've all done it when we've done a Google search and we get the search up on screen, and there's the blue line that's got a title, and then there's a little bit of information underneath it that with some bold highlighted words based on the thing that we've put as a search into Google. That's a meta description, and you can control that. You can control exactly what it says. You can control it not only on your blog, but you can control it on every page on your website. And if you haven't done this exercise on your web pages, Google will put stuff up there that they think that page is about, which may be totally not what it's about. So you do really need to get in there and ensure that the description, that meta description, is saying something that is answering that question that the person searching for that kind of topic is looking for. So you've got 160 characters. That's the space that will show up on a search. What we've got here you can see one says the desktop result. That's what this description will look like if I did that on my desktop machine here. The one below where you've got a bit of the image is what could show up if I'm looking at it on a tablet or a mobile phone. So it does actually show it in a slightly different way. And what you've got here is you can see that the SEO title, you can see that slug. That's the thing I said, you can make slight tweaks to that. So it doesn't specifically have to be that title. And then you've got that 160 character meta description where I've used the terms about asking customers for payment within that meta description. You can see how on the desktop version, those words have been highlighted. It's actually been brought forward. So if I was somebody who was doing a Google search for, it gets a real problem sometimes as a single person business owner when people don't pay up on time and you have to go and ask them for payment. Let's do a Google search and see if there's any advice on how I should ask customers for payment. That's what would show up in front of them. So that's what we're trying to achieve. Okay. Anything to add in there, Emma?
Anything to add? Be careful in the meta description if you're using like apostrophes or plurals, because sometimes it doesn't associate that with your keywords. You might have to do some jiggery and pokery to make it green.
Yeah, and also ampersands. If you're going to use the word and, I'd always type the word and, because in coding, sometimes those symbols mean something slightly different, so it could give the search engines a bit of a hiccup. So things like, it's really odd Emma says that about apostrophes. I find this quite a lot if somebody's got a surname that is O something, like O'Dowd or O'Donoghue. Sometimes it's better to actually type it without the apostrophe, and I know it looks a little bit odd, but it can the apostrophe turns into something else. That's the problem, and it doesn't read it as that name. So yeah, be careful of those. Okay. Do you want to say something about this?
Well, I was just going to congratulate Kathy, because Kathy redid her website back at Christmas. So when you go onto Kathy's website, you can find categories and types and groups of content that are grouped together. So if you want to do business planning, if you want to do social media, you've got one area, which is fantastic. So again, it's a way of filing internally on your website, but also from Google point of view, it knows that you're doing specific information. So it builds up a picture of what you want to be known for. I was going to say as well, after this session, I know Kayleen will share the link, but we've got some helpful tips in a downloadable guide. So we'll give you this, because some of this is a bit techy, so we've explained it a little bit more depth. But categories and tags, really helpful from a usability point of view, and that's what Google's all about now, making life easy for the reader.
Yeah, and I want to go back to Emma's analogy about a library as well. is the fact that categories within the types of things that you're writing about, there should be some like top level categories. You know, if you are a tax accountant, then sort of tax is a category. Okay. Your tags are where you break that category down into more sort of breadcrumby bits. So it could be, what's the thing? Research and development tax. I'm just making this stuff up, but it is things that I've read online. So, you know, you might want to talk about the requirements or what's possible for people who are in R&D and their maybe tax responsibilities or tax breaks. So when you start thinking about your categories and when you start thinking about your tags, that's what that's for. And again, as Emma said, it is telling Google something. You can, I mean, I did this is the thing that gave me a bit of a meltdown over Christmas, actually, to be quite honest, because it did get a bit more technical than I thought it was going to be. But what I managed to do is I managed to create category-based sort of blog spaces, just by making sure that each of my blogs was aligned to whether it's somebody starting a business, growing a business, or something to do with their engagement marketing. So that's very much what I've gone along there. You do not have to do that, but I just wanted to show you that this is the power of using categories and tags, is that you can actually make it so that people can find things on a very specific topic. The other thing that I will throw into here is that if you haven't got one on your blog at the moment, if it's you that manages your website or you outsource that management to somebody else, and you haven't got a search bar on your blog, can you make sure that you get one on there? Because that, when people get to your website, if they go to your blog and they're looking for something in particular, they can actually type that in and it will pick up on the keywords in the blog, but it also pick up on the categories and the tags that you've used. So, you know, that makes it really easy for people to navigate around the content that you share, particularly if you're going to share on a regular basis. Okay. So, what makes a good blog? Do you want to carry on with this one, Emma?
Yeah, so we get asked a lot, how long should my blog be? And again, it's a bit of a piece of string question, but if you were just starting, 350 words minimum would be a starting point. Better if you can do 1,000. If you want to do really long form content, you're looking at kind of 2,000, 2,500 words. But at the moment, to build up confidence, start with 350, which is probably 5 long paragraphs, and that would be enough to get Google to recognise you. And the more you can do, obviously, the better, because you can have more chance to put in your optimized keywords as well. Typically my blog's between 500 and 1,000 words, and that's seen me in good stead throughout the whole of the last 7 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that, you know, don't, my advice when you get going, and it's actually advice going on as well, is that just write stuff. Don't edit as you go. Just get it all out there, even if it's sounds a little bit odd as it's going down on paper or you're typing it onto a document. Just get as much out there as you possibly can, and then go in and edit once you've got all of that on a page, because the fact is that it will come out much more naturally. And I will bet my bottom dollar that if you do that, you take a topic and you just start writing about it, even if it's one sentence paragraphs and things like that, if you just get it out onto a document, you'll have written more than 350 words. And in fact, I think you would find it hard if somebody then said, okay, go and make that 350 words, you wouldn't be able to do it. I've using that exercise before. There's been nothing fewer than 500 words that people have written, and it's probably more between 500 and 800. So that would be the way that I would do it. The 2,000 to 2,500 words, it's really good to have a few of those on your blog, but make them what we'd call evergreen. Make them about things that are standard within your business or your industry. You know, the really good how-to blogs, or why this does this or why that does that. If they need to change because of, say, legislation or anything like that, you can go in and edit that kind of thing. But they're really, really useful blogs to have on your site, because one of the things that you can do within your blogs is, if you're talking in another blog about a concept, you can actually link to that cornerstone, that evergreen blog, and say, there's more information in this blog if you want to dive deeper into that. They work really, really well on your website. So 350 if you're getting started. I bet you'll write more than that. Aim for between 5 and 1,000 on a regular basis, and then maybe think about writing 3 or 4 really chunky pieces that can sit on your website and really have an impact.
So we had some great questions in the Q&A. How important is the readability score in Google ranking? Catherine struggles to get a green face with the technical content aimed at architects. Yeah, I think if it reads naturally, don't worry so much about the readability score, because I know my stuff. We're trained journalists, everyone in my company, we can write, and sometimes we struggle to get green on readability, and we're like, no, it reads fine, so don't get too hung up about it. And Alison asked, can you have too many words? If it's engaging content, I don't think you can have too many words. If you were struggling to do regular blogs, you could break those down into smaller chunks, but you know, people writing LinkedIn articles now 10,000 words. So
I personally think that if you've got that many thousand words that you want to put into a blog, put it into an ebook, put it up on Amazon KDP and sell it. Because that sounds that, you know, it becomes then a product within the business. But I will agree with Emma, you know, don't get, for me, the SEO bit, as long as I've got the green SEO, I'm fine. If I get amber on the readability, that's fine as well. Because I tend to write with like, so then ... and they don't like that stuff. And also I do tend to get a little bit into it in terms of some of my sentences and things with semicolons and things, and they don't like long sentences like that. So, but I think actually that's the way I talk. I like to write the way I talk. People recognize that it's me talking, so I'm not going to change that because some algorithm has told me that that's not the way it should be. So yeah, it's a pinch of salt, I think. Structural stuff. I love this. See,
you do this bit. Leave it creative to me. You do the tech.
So one of the things to consider is leading your reader. And so you need to give the reader some, you need to draw them down the page, okay? That's a really practical engagement with the person visiting the blog. On the other side of things, again, on the search engine side of things, the way Google goes across a blog, in fact, the way it goes across a page, is it looks for certain markers. The first thing it looks for is what's called the H1 heading. In a blog, that will be your title. Now, on any page or in any blog, there should only be one H1 title, because that's the thing that's saying to Google, this is what this thing is about. And so if you put more than one H1, you're going to confuse the search engines. Okay, so your title needs to be an H1 heading, and you will see these in your blog editor at the back of the website. Then when you go through, so you're writing paragraphs, you need to break those paragraphs up with subheadings, and we'd recommend that they would be what we call an H2 heading. And within that heading, again, you're using things like your keyword or your key phrase as much as you possibly can. Don't put it in there if it looks odd, because actually the readability score will pick up on if it's in the wrong place. So what you really need to do is to make sure that you are putting the H1 heading for the title. I very rarely go down past 2, to be quite honest, because I don't really do like subheadings or anything like that. So the H1 and the H2s are really important, because H1 tell Google, H2 tell Google, but it also, they draw the reader's eyes down in exactly the same way as if you were reading magazine article where they'll break the text up and they'll put a heading in top of that. That will encourage you to come down the page. So that's what they're there for. Anything you want to add in there, Emma?
Oh, bow down to Tech Queen.
I love these bits. The next thing is about paragraphs and the use of bold and the use of grammar. But the one thing I found about writing blogs is that anything I ever knew about grammar quite often goes out the window, because the way we talk isn't necessarily the way people read or hear. So you need to start thinking about what's going to get my information across. So it's much better to break your text. Don't have really long paragraphs. You know, actually, in that readability score, it will tell you off if it thinks your paragraphs are too long, and it will tell you to break them up. It also makes it much easier for people to read. The other thing, you know, a lot of people will be looking at these on mobile devices. They won't necessarily be reading them on a desktop. So the more that you can break your text up and put white space around it, the much easier it becomes to read. And you can emphasize by using bold, and you can see from those two images that you can actually, people will hone in on the bold bits. So if you're really trying to get a message across, some terms across, you can use that. Break text up using bullet points. If you want to quote somebody, in most blogs they have a really nice way of showing, like speech, what are they called? The word's gone out of my head, you know, the speech marks.
Quote.
Yeah, quote marks, those kinds of things. Don't be scared if you want to emphasize something, putting it in a box, because all of this is a way of actually pulling people through. If you're writing a really long blog, don't only rely on one image as your header image. Put some more images in as you go through the text, simply because that will, again, that's another attention grabbing thing. Okay. Anything to add there, Emma?
Alistair's just shared that the Plain English campaign has some great guides on words to use and alternatives to use. Brilliant advice there, and yeah, 100% agree. Sometimes I can overcomplicate, and I look at it and go, no, just strip it back. So yeah, great advice. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I love this. I was talking to somebody yesterday, I was talking to a client yesterday about the 12-year-old test. If you write something and a 12-year-old can't understand it, then change it. Because if you can get a 12-year-old to understand it, everybody can. And this works really well if you're in, I know some specific industries, there are ways of expressing things. So I'm thinking about the law and things to do with money sometimes. But actually, if you can make those technical terms few and far between, and explain them in plain English, it will make your content far more accessible to the ordinary person. Okay. Images. Pictures worth 1,000 words, as they say. So, you know, you can use them. Your images are important. There does need to be a relevance to them. You do need to illustrate what you're doing. If you've got a business that is pictorial, you can have, you know, a really good photo shoot. So you get your own set of stock images that you can use for highlighting things. If, like me, it's not a very pictorial thing, then you may need to use some stock images. There are places where you can get freebie stock images, and in the resource that Emma and I have put together, there's a couple of suggestions on that. You can actually pay for stock images. I use a design tool called Canva, and I build my blog images in that, so that's where I get a lot of my images from. They are an attraction point. You know, it is true, you know, 60,000 more times impact from an image than there are from words. So you do need you do need to show images in what you're doing. Technically, JPEGs, they're a slightly smaller file size, which will mean that the PNGs can actually slow the speed of your site. So that's one of the reasons why you would do that. And alt tags, this is the information that you actually put behind the image. So, you know, if you go into Google Images, you do a search on Google Images, if you hover over a picture, it will tell you something about the picture. That's what the alt text is, and you can control that. You can put whatever you want in there. I tend to put the title of the blog, my name, and the name of my company, so that gets a lot of coverage online. It's good for disability discrimination, because if somebody is using a web reader, when the reader goes over that image, it will describe that image to the person who can't actually see it. So that was the reason alt tags were created in the first place. But really, the other thing is that it's an SEO keyword space. So, you know, this one that I've used as an example all the way through about asking customers for payment, it'll also be another thing saying, oh, this is about asking customers for payment. So if somebody's searching for that, that's what we need to look for. So that's really the key things there about the images. Anything to add, Emma?
No, that's okay.
That's smashing. I'll pass over to you for calls to action.
Calls to action. So I wanted to say every piece of content that we create really should include an idea of what you want the person to do after reading it. So sometimes I think because we're English, we get a bit scared about telling someone what to do. And I've noticed that in my own business, when I very clearly say to somebody, now go and do this, now click this button, now go and visit X, I get much more traction. So do think about what objective you want after somebody reads your blog. Again, it hasn't got to be overtly selling, but it does need to drive an action of some kind. It could be something as simple as share, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, sign up for a free trial, download, read something else, webinar, book in a call. But do make sure that you do include something on every blog to tell people what you want them to do after, because people just genuinely follow instruction.
And I think that the thing about this as well, the call to action, is you've created something that is there to help people in some way or another, you know, give them information, tell them how to do something, point them in the right direction. And, you know, as a result of that, you want something back. And that something may not necessarily be a direct sale. And in fact, one of the things I would say is that very few and far between would I have something that says, you know, necessarily in a blog, buy this now. There may well be times where that's appropriate. But what you really are saying to them is, you know, I provided this stuff for you. Now it'd be really great if you would do this for me. So, you know, go somewhere else, do something else, book a call with you, whatever that might be. And as Emma said, people like to be told what you now want them to do. The other thing is that you can put your calls to action into, say, text and make it a hyperlink. So, for example, in quite a lot of my blogs, I'll say, you know, if you want to know more about this, book a call with me. So, and I'll do a hyperlink to book a call where my calendar comes up and people can book themselves straight into there. But if I wanted to do something a bit more specific, so for example, if I wanted them to like my Facebook page, I might actually create a button that says, click here to like my Facebook page, you know. And going back to what Emma said about maybe the Britishness of things, sometimes calls to action, you might think they sound a bit brusque, you know, like my Facebook page. But actually people like that, and they'll say, oh, they want me to like their Facebook page. Okay, I'll click on that thing. And they do it. So, you know, download now, click here. Yes, I want one. Make sure that you use these kinds of upbeat instructions, I suppose, is the best way to say it for people. Don't just think, I'm going to write this thing and put it out there. Part of what you're doing with the call to action is as a measure point. So it's telling you who is engaging with what you're doing. Yeah, you can use the stats and the resources that Emma showed you. They're invaluable to tell you about how many people are actually visiting your blog, what blogs they're reading, those kinds of things. It's the call to action actions that actually really tell you what they're doing. So, you know, if you put out a blog and it says book an appointment in my calendar and you get 10 bookings, you know, hey ho, that's a good one. Maybe I need to write something more on that, and ask people to do exactly the same again the next time. Or maybe the next one I write does have a buy this now button in it. So all of this is around you measuring your impact in terms of what you're doing.
We have another question. Oliver asks, is there a danger of having too many blogs on your website? Can do Google like give you a blog area sprinkling? Is there a magic number? So sprinkling definitely in terms of outdated blogs. If you've done something that needs a refresh, like I did a blog a couple of years ago on Mental Health Awareness Week in 2017, I'll redo that for 2021 because that was a ranking blog. And I know, Kathy, you took away some of your other blogs, didn't you?
Yeah, I tend to leave about 3 years worth of stuff on my site at any one time. My blog is generally weekly, so you know that, what does that work out? It works out that I've probably got about 150 to 200 blogs on my site at any one time. But you don't get any kind of sort of knuckle wrapping or anything from Google in terms of the number that you've got on there. But as Emma said, it is a spring clean thing, and you know, something that you wrote 4 years ago may have changed so significantly that it might be doing your website and your blog damage. So it is really worthwhile going back through and, can I rewrite this? Can I repurpose everything? I don't take it off and chuck it away. I take it all off, put it in a folder, and then say, can I write something on this topic? What's changed? What do I need to put in that's new? Shall I give it a new title? Definitely needs a new picture, that kind of thing. So yeah, the problem is that on a blog, you're writing about a lot of the same stuff all the time. And coming up with new ways of saying every business needs a business plan can sometimes get a little bit wearing on you. So yeah, you do need to keep things fresh as much as possible. So, but there are companies out there. I mean, I think about, say, big organizations like HubSpot. They probably publish, I don't know, 50 blogs a day, if not more. If you take Forbes, they have hundreds and thousands of stuff going up every day. So no, you don't get downgraded, but you might if your content is not keeping up to date with what you're doing. Okay. Any other questions? Is anything more popping here?
Oliver was just saying that he was nervous about starting blogs and has now got into the habit. So yeah, brilliant. JFDI.
Yeah, I love that, Oliver. That's really great. And you know, I think one of the things, going back to what we said right at the beginning about this whole expert model, one of the things that stops people, makes people stand back a little bit from it, is who's going to want to read my stuff? What if I write something and somebody says something nasty? What if, something bad happens? And sometimes that does happen, but it's very rare, and it tends to happen to much larger organizations than it does to much smaller ones. Actually, I will throw in there about comments, because one of the calls to action could be that you ask somebody to leave a comment. And a big worry that people have is that somebody might come on and make a comment that is abusive, or it could be not a very nice thing that they're saying. Now, the fact of the matter is, if somebody comments on something that you've written, you have editorial control. So that comment does not appear until you say it's okay for it to appear. So if it's a nasty one, you can delete it. If it's controversial, you can edit it. If it's okay, you can approve it. One piece of advice on that is, if you do approve a blog, always reply to whoever's written it, because it's actually really nice practice to do that. But don't think, oh, if I write a blog and I offend somebody and they start getting iffy with me, I couldn't be dealing with that, because you actually have editorial control.
Catherine says, is there a good way of getting rid of spam Google reviews? Yeah, it's reporting to Google, and I know that Google's support centre aren't brilliant. They're a bit better at the minute, actually, in lockdown, but that is only the official way, unfortunately. That's not a silly question at all. Can you only blog on your website? So if you haven't got a website yet, I'd recommend posting on LinkedIn as an article, treat that as your blog space. And the way that Instagram's going, 2,200 characters on Instagram, you could basically be writing a blog on your Insta caption, to be honest. So lots of different ways to get around that if you haven't got a website right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got a WordPress website that isn't showing that you've got a blog, it simply means that no blogs have been written. So the ability to actually have a blog on your website is not something that has to be done to your site. It's there. It's just nothing's been written. But yeah, I agree with Emma. Great place is LinkedIn. Another nice place I quite like is Medium. That's like a very creative place in terms of writing. So you know, that's somewhere else that you can do stuff. But the fact is, if you're blogging on your website, what you're doing is you're pulling people towards your shop window. You're pulling people towards what it is that you do and how you do it. So that's one of the key things about actually having it on your website.
If anybody is thinking about having a website, we've got a brilliant website questionnaire that's really handy when you're thinking about planning to get in touch, and Kathy can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you want to have a chat.
Yeah.
So
website a week at the moment, aren't we? So we're well versed in the web.
Absolutely. So here's our calendar. So Emma mentioned before, when we were talking about the whole idea about, you know, maybe having themes or seasonal things, or things that might be industry specific, or, you know, those sorts of things. So thinking about this, maybe getting yourself a really nice wall planner and creating this concept that, you know, Valentine's Day always falls in February. Christmas Day always falls on the 25th of December, which always interests me when people say, oh, where's Christmas come from? It's just appeared. No, it's always the 25th of December. You know, those kinds of things. You can get all of those things in there. So when you're thinking about creating a calendar, I said, you know, I think 12 months in advance. So generally what I would do is I'd sit down in sort of late October, November time, and I'd think about the following year. So think about doing that this year. I'd be thinking about 2022. And I'd be thinking, okay, what sort of things happen in my industry in January? What sort of things happen in February? I know October, for example, is National Mentoring Day. And this month we have International Coaching Week. And I think in November we have Global Entrepreneurship Week. And, you know, those kinds of things that are interesting to, you know, they're part of my business. So I'd start plotting those out. And then what you think about is you think about your overarching theme. So if I was thinking about October, and I know that the 27th of October is National Mentoring Day, then I might say, okay, so October is going to be about mentoring. It's going to be about business mentoring, because that's what I do. How can I break that down into 4 topics? So maybe the difference between coaching, mentoring, and business mentoring. I might think about something that was around how much does a business mentor cost? I might think about, why do businesses that have business mentors, why are they more successful than ones that don't? So you can sit and break that down, that overall topic that you think about, down into sub themes, so that you end up with something that you've got once a week. Because I find that the biggest, particularly if you're starting out with blogging, one of the biggest mistakes is try to put everything into one piece of writing. Emma said earlier, she said something really important, is that if your writing is going to go on and on and on and on and on, break it up. So if you think that you're going to write 5,000 words, you've actually got 5 blogs there. So make it a series rather than necessarily a one-off. So this is the way I approach doing this. And one of the biggest and bestest everest tool to enable me to do this are these. So before I put anything onto a wall planner that I paid a lot of money for, I just get out my Post-it notes and I brainstorm topics. I just brainstorm, anything, one topic per piece of Post-it, and bit of promotion here. These are from Wilko. I love them. They're square, easier to write on. You get 5 colours in a pack, and I think they're only about £1. So best ones ever. So I just brainstorm. I just sit there and I spend about an hour thinking about all of the things that I could potentially write about, maybe the things that I've written about before that have had more traction than others. How do I build that in? And then I just start plotting them in month by month by month, topic by topic by topic. I get the theme, and then I go and I start doing my Google searching. Okay, so if my theme is about how to start a business with no money, I'll go into Google and I'll search how to start a business with no money, and I'll look at those Google preferred searches, and I'll look at those ones down the bottom, and I'll look at what people are actually physically typing into Google, and I'll create a title based on that. Because I know if they're showing on Google, there are hundreds and thousands of people using those words to search for that topic. So that's where my titles will come from. Once I've got the titles, then the content comes off the back of that. So it's not the other way around. I don't do the title after the content. The content comes from the title. I hope that makes sense. Anything you want to add in there, Emma?
No, it's all good, thanks.
Okay, so that's very much the process that I would recommend that you go through. And just as an addition to that, because we have this philosophy of write it once and use it many times, which is why we're really passionate about blogs. Is we think that a lot of people concentrate a hell of a lot on social spaces and posting on social spaces, but not on their own websites. And one of the things that we think is that if you write a regular blog, that actually becomes the basis of the things that you post out. So if you write a 350 word blog with 5 paragraphs, each one of those paragraphs can become a social post. So you've got 5 days worth of social posting out of one blog. So this is why we want people to think about this as an important part of what they're doing. It's not an addition to, it's intrinsic to what you're doing. Okay. Have we got any more questions coming, Emma?
No, but Neil's going to share a brilliant tip about Post-it notes, which I love.
Oh, okay. That's
left to right to avoid trail.
I shall open my drawer and just show you that this is just one tiny number that I actually have sitting right next to me. So I don't go 100 paces without a Post-it note block anywhere from me. They're the best things ever. So do you want to cover about where we're going to put them once we've got them?
So once we've got it on our website, what do we do with it? So put it on the website, but also we can share out to socials. So we've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, Pinterest, etc. Medium, like Kathy mentioned. And actually there's 65 social media platforms operational. People know the main ones, but there's 65. Start thinking about the other platforms as well, like Quora, Reddit, and as Kathy said, Medium. They are brilliant search engine ranking areas. So whenever you do Google search, you'll get a Reddit result, you'll get a Quora result. YouTube, I think somebody mentioned in our chat earlier, and a top tip that Kathy and I do once we've written a blog, we can record it as a live or a podcast. We can do it the other way around. We can record a podcast and then download the transcript to create that into a blog. We can create a downloadable guide. So I've got about 25 lead magnets running. You can get the most popular hashtags of the month. You can get free content ideas. We've got loads of them. But the idea is that we've made one blog, we've turned it into many different things and used it many different times.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I like Medium, if you've got if you write a blog on your website, because you don't get this everywhere, but you can have a Medium account without having to pay for it. But they have this thing, and I hope I can say it because my tongue does get twisted around it sometimes. But they have this thing that you can do, which is to create what's called a canonical link. And what that means is that you can actually put your blog onto the Medium platform. But by using that type of link, it means that you're saying to Google, but the original content is here. Because if you share total content across more than one platform, it can affect the original source. It can affect your SEO. So what you don't want to do, for example, is write a blog, put it on your website, and copy it and put the whole thing onto your LinkedIn, in an article on LinkedIn, because it can have an impact. Whereas in Medium, what you can do is you can do that, but you can create this link that says, yes, but the original is over here. And I think that's a really nice way of doing it. I'm totally with Emma about the podcast. And I think actually, next week I'm going on something that the Chamber are running about podcasting, because I started one tentatively a few weeks ago. But the idea with that is that, for people who may not be great in terms of the written word, if you sit and talk about what you're doing, say you use Zoom or something to video yourself, you've got lots of different resources there. So you've got the video that you can use. You've got the audio that you could turn into a podcast. And you've also got the, from the audio track, you can get the transcript downloaded that you can edit, that you can then use on your website as a blog. And interestingly, I did that with the 3 podcasts I've done so far. The podcasts are quite short, I don't want them to be long, about 15 minutes. And each one of them has brought out thousands of words, because we speak far more than we do in terms of the written word. So, don't feel that I'm going to put it on my website and that's it. You can actually use it in so many different ways. And remember, this is about getting people to know you, like you, trust you, follow you, but also to recognize you as an expert within your business. So make sure that you spread the love. Okay. So that was it. So we're at the point now where we can pick up on any more questions that people might have. So maybe we can perhaps pull Kayleen back, or I'll stop sharing here, and we can pick up on any more bits and pieces.
I don't know if I saw Emma with her hand up, or
I was just about to say, Kathy, is there one more slide where we're talking about what we've got coming up for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'll just
don't miss that one out.
I'll just pull. Where is it? You don't want to have a look at my calendar. I'll pull that one up. Yeah, so there's that one. Sorry. Yeah, meant to show that one.
Yes, I know we had some questions in the chat. Yes, we are running Facebook. We've got Facebook next week. We know that Facebook has changed dramatically. We also know that there's lots of people posting on Facebook every day and not getting what they want out of it. So we're showing how the algorithm really works, the type of content that Facebook's looking for, and how you can incorporate that in your business next Wednesday. You can come live or you can grab the recording, and both options come with slides and workbooks as well. And then we are back with Chamber on the 13th of May, how to create a customer engaged attention grabbing lead magnets. So using this strategy, we've doubled our email list during lockdown by giving something of great value in exchange for an email address. So we're going to be talking about how to do that from a technical point of view, and also how to do that from a content point of view. And I'm just about to write our newsletter for this week. And email marketing brings a return investment of 38 to 1. So if you're not using this strategy in your business right now, we'd encourage you to pop along on 13th of May and learn more. And then the week after that, we've got how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Now, since LinkedIn was bought out by Microsoft 5 years ago, it's changed dramatically. It used to be a platform where you told everyone how many degrees you had and how wonderful you were. It's not like that now. It's a place where you talk about your business journey, successes, failures and victories, and that whole kind of conversation piece has really revolutionised and transformed LinkedIn. So we're going to be talking about that on the 19th of May.
And I'll have cake because it's my birthday.
What, on the Wednesday, the 19th?
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
At least this one won't be in lockdown, I hope.
Oh, is that like 2 days after the next phase lift, potentially?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so last year I wasn't only in lockdown, we were restricted to 2 rooms in our house because the rest of it had been pulled down and was held up by acros because walls had been taken out, but the building work had stopped. So, yeah, different birthday this year.
I've just missed it. Mine's on the 6th of May, so I'm still in lockdown for the second time.
Yeah, but you can get out. I think, what is it? You can meet 6 people. 5 people, sorry, including yourself to make this.
Be up here soon.
I'll just have to find 4 friends. So do we have any questions? Is there anything else on blogging that we can help with while we've got some time?
Anything from today in terms of what we've spoken about, anything that has sparked something in your head, may not be specifically about blogging, but it may be connected to it. Please just ask us a question.
Oh, that's great, Alison. I'm really pleased that we demystified blogging.
Oh,
that's what we're here for. That's our job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you very much. That's really good.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. And as Emma said, we're always up for a chat. You'll have our email address. You can contact us that way, or each of us has a little button on our website where you can book something directly into our calendars for a conversation. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, Nikki, we know what your weekend's going to be about now. Planning and blogging. I love it.
Oh, well done, Townsend. That's great news. Good luck on your website website building.
That's great. Thank you, Ed.
Perfect. Well, I think if there's no questions, we can end it early and give people 8 minutes back of their day. Oh, hang on. Just see what Richard has said.
That's made
Wow, Richard, that's amazing. For those of you that can't see it, Richard's saying that after the SEO session that we did, basically they moved from page 12 to page 2 of Google. Well done.
Yeah. I'd love to use that as a review on our website, Richard, if that's okay, because that one quick fix had a direct impact on your business, and that's exactly what we want. So yeah, that's made my day.
Love that. So just to confirm, I'll share a copy of this presentation following this event, along with useful links. I'm going to have to work through the chat and find what we're talking about to make sure I don't miss anything. I have made a note as well during the session. But yeah, thank you so much. As Kathy and Emma said, they are doing another event with us on the 13th of May, so I'll include the link to that. And I'll also, in their presentation, it's got a link to their upcoming events, which they went through shortly. So that'll all be there for you as well. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy your braai or barbecue. I really hope the weather holds up. And yeah, hopefully we will kind of ECU, or fingers crossed see you face to face when we can in the next couple of months. So yeah. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye. See you again soon.